All right, class. So now I want us to start looking at the last section of chapter 7 that we're going to cover, which is solving rational equations. And so what I did first was I provided you with your steps on solving rational equations. And so step 1 is you want to determine the domain of the variable. Step 2, you want to multiply each side of the equation by the LCD. And remember, just like we did when we solved linear equations, by multiplying by the LCD, we cleared the fractions. And so that's what we're wanting to do here as well. Step 3, we actually are going to solve the equation. And then step 4 is we want to check our answer in the domain to make sure that it's part of the domain. If it's not, we have to throw it out. So these are your steps. And as we go through these, you'll see the steps in action and see how they work. But what I provided here for you are just two quick examples of what rational equations look like. Again, they have rational expressions in them, but what makes it an equation, again, is having that equal sign. And so just to kind of give you just two quick examples, and so now we're going to go to solving these. Alright, so here we're asked to solve 2 over x minus 3 over 2 equals 7 over 2x. And so step 1 just says that we want to determine the domain. And so if we look at the domain here, domain is just what all values of can x be. And so the easy way to do that is find out what x can't be and to take that out from the domain. And so if you notice here, the only thing that we can't have on the bottom of a fraction is a 0. And in this case, the only thing that would make any one of these fractions have 0 on the bottom is if x was 0. So just step 1, x cannot equal 0. Okay, so that's kind of what we get from step 1. And then x can be anything else, just not 0. And then step 2 says we want to multiply each side by the LCD. But first we got to find the LCD. And so if we look here and we remember back how to find LCD, we just get that the LCD is 2x. And so now we're going to multiply each side by 2x. So I'm going to have 2x times 2 over x minus 3 over 2. And that's equal to 7 over 2x. Again, times 2x. We've got to multiply both sides by the 2x. Alright, so now what happens is we have 2x times 2 over x. So I'm going to break this apart using distributive property. So 2x times 2 over x minus 2x times 3 over 2. And again, that just equals 7 over 2x times 2 over x. Okay. But now what we can do is we're going to get stuff that cancels out. And so 2x times 2 over x, we notice that the two x's would just cancel each other out. And we would just get 4 there. Alright, then the next one, 2x times 3 over 2, my 2's cancel. And so there we're just left with minus 3x. And then on the last one, the two x's cancel each other out. And so there we're just left with 7. So after we multiply through by the LCD, your fraction should clear out. And if you notice, exactly that's what they do. And so now we can subtract 4 from each side. And so we get negative 3x equals positive 3 divided by negative 3. And we wind up getting that x equals negative 1. Okay, and so now step 4 was, hey, now that x equals negative 1, or we think x equals negative 1, we just got to check it and make sure that it doesn't give me a 0 in the domain. And so if we plug in negative 1 for x on this first one here, so this is where we're plugging it in at first. But then we get negative 1 on the bottom of a fraction. That's okay. And then we can't plug it into this one because there's no x, so that's okay. And then if I take negative 1 and I plug it into this last one, well, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. It's not 0, so that's okay. So what that tells me then is that x equals negative 1 is my solution. Alright, so let's try another one. Alright, so here we're asked to solve 2 over x minus 3 minus 3 over x plus 3 equals 12 over x squared minus 9. So again, we really need to find the domain. And so if you notice here, if I plugged in 3 in the first one, so step 1 is just kind of figure out what your domain is and what x can't be. So if I plug in 3 in the first one, that would give me a 0. So I know that x can equal a positive 3. And then if I plug in negative 3 for the second one, well, I would get 0. So I know that x can equal negative 3 as well. And then if we remember difference of squares, that this right here just factors into x plus 3 times x minus 3, which is what we've already solved the domain for that. So our domain is that x can be anything except for 3 and negative 3. Okay, and so now let's try to solve this. So we need to find the LCD. Well, the LCD in this case, again, if we remember back to the add and subtracting rational expressions, we know that the LCD is just x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, and so now we're just going to multiply that to both to all three terms. So we wind up having x minus 3, x plus 3 times 2 over x minus 3 minus x minus 3, x plus 3 times 3 over x plus 3. And then we have x plus 3, x minus 3 times the 12 over x squared minus 9. So we just take our LCD and we multiply it again by every single term. Alright, so here my x minus 3's cancel, here my x plus 3's cancel, and remember x squared minus 9 is just x minus 3, x plus 3, so over there it cancels all that out, and so what we're left with then is 2 times x plus 3 minus 3 times x minus 3, and that's equal to 12. Okay, so now here is my new linear equation that I want to solve. So we're just going to distribute. So we get 2x plus 6 minus 3x plus 9 equals 12. Combine my like terms. We wind up getting negative x plus 15 equals positive 12. Subtract 15 from each side. And we wind up getting, negative x is equal to 12 minus 15 is negative 3. Divide that by negative 1 to get a positive x, and we get x equals positive 3. Okay? And so that's what we think our solution is. Okay? But if we remember back to step 1, we found out that the domain can't be x equals 3 or x equals negative 3. And we see that because if I take this value, and if I plug it into this first expression there, then I get 3 minus 3, which is 0 on the bottom. And remember, you can't have 0 on the bottom of a fraction, so x actually cannot equal 3. So that is not our solution, and so therefore we wind up having no solution. Okay, so actually this problem, there is no solution that would work. And so that would be our final answer. So even though you might solve and get an x value, remember you have to plug it back into your original equation just to make sure that it is part of the domain, that it doesn't give you a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. All right, so let's do one more, and I'm going to give you some time to work on it, and then we'll look at the answer together. All right, so what I'd like for you guys to do is just pause the video, give you guys some time to try to work this out, and see if you can get your solution. Alright, so hopefully you guys had time to go through it and solve it out. And now let's see if you got the correct answer. So what I did is I went ahead and I factored out this denominator over here so that I could get a good idea what my LCD would be. And so I wound up finding that my LCD was 9 times m plus 2. And so that's what I want to multiply each term by. So I'm just going to write that out now. So we have 9 times m plus 2 times 4 over m plus 2 minus 9 times m plus 2 times 11 over 9, and that's equal to 1 over 3m plus 6 times 9 times m plus 2. Alright, and so now let's just see what cancels off. So here my m plus 2's will cancel. Here my 9's cancel. And over here, if you remember that 3m plus 6 was really 3 times m plus 2. So what happens is the m plus 2 would cancel with that, and a 3 would cancel out. And so what we would be left with would be just a 3 up top. Okay, and so now let's just multiply through what we have left. So the first term we have 9 times 4 left, which is 36. Second term we just have negative 11 times m plus 2. And then last we have equals 1 times 3, which is just 3. So now this is my linear equation, and if you notice, I don't have any fractions, which again, once you multiply through by the LCD, you should no longer have fractions. So now let's just solve this up. So 36 minus 11m minus 22 equals 3. Combine like terms, we get negative 11m. 36 minus 22, that gives us 14, so plus 14 equals 3. Subtract 14 from each side, and we wind up getting negative 11m equals negative 11, divided by negative 11, and we get m equals positive 1. So that's what we think our solution is. Now we just have to plug it in to check our domain. So m plus 2, well, 1 plus 2 is 3, so it checks out there. Doesn't give me 0. 9 for the second one, there's nothing to plug in. And then 3 times 1 plus 6 is 9. And so we notice that we don't get 0 on the bottom of any fraction. And so that means that m equals 1 is indeed our solution. All right, so work through some of these problems. Again, if you have any questions or are having trouble, just please get in touch with me and get in contact with me, and let's work out some more examples.